problem.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. It's your host, Vikka Draziv, guys. Welcome to the show. If you're watching us from YouTube, do comment, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. And if you're watching us from World Flat Earth Association group or Flat Earth Research Network group, do comment and tag your friends. And yes, World Flat Earth Association, we are almost right now reaching almost 37,000 people. I think many people are waking up to the truth of flat Earth, a geostationary realm. So looks good. And yes, finally, if you're watching us from realtruthseekers.com, rts.video, realtruthseekers.com is one of our main sponsors. So make sure you guys check out realtruthseekers.com or rts.video is the shortest link to get there. And yes, what an awesome topic we have today too. We have an awesome panel like always. First and foremost, my co-host, Jeannie. How are you, brother?
Hey, Vikka. Doing great, brother. I'm really excited tonight about this topic. This is one of the more popular ones in modern culture. I think a lot more people understand and a little more fascinated by what really happened over there in the Mayan culture down in down in Chichen Itza. That's where the Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, is. A lot of people understand how the sun. They worship the sun. They paid such close attention to the celestial events. And to build something like that, to tell the time of 2 days out of the year, was pretty phenomenal. But there's a lot to cover. The similarities between all these cultures is so striking, and we're just here trying to figure it out. And I'm very happy to be here with everybody on the panel. We haven't seen Brett in a while. Keith, I'm glad you made the whole show. Evelyn's back again. Hello, everybody. And thanks to everybody who's spending your time out there right now, wherever you are. It's great to have you with us, exploring these possibilities of a real history and a real possible future that might have been just overlooked if it wasn't for people waking up to these things and exploring other options and possibilities of what could happen and what might have happened. So yeah, Vikka, great show, brother. Thanks for putting it together and having me. And I'm definitely looking forward. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, brother. Mayan cosmology is supposed to be also a different variation of the same thing. So it's also quite interesting in the way they perceive the world. And yes, definitely the sun is very important for them. So we're going to be digging in deep there. So, and our next panelist is going to be Keith. Keith, how are you, brother?
Hey, Vikka, I'm doing real good. Good to be with you guys this time for the whole show. Sorry, I missed most of it last week, but I was glad to get on at the end. Yeah, the Mayans, I didn't have a whole lot of time to look into it like I wanted to, but I know a little bit about them. But, like I do, I question everything that we hear about the Mayans, especially because it is, like Gene said, more acceptable in pop culture to talk about them. Perhaps there's even more delusion and more deception, that's revealed through the Mayans. When hopefully tonight we'll talk more of what's actually more accurate and more true about them. But when it comes to history, I question everything. But it obviously seems like they had a great understanding of the sun and the moon and the stars, I imagine. But they knew emphatically that the heavenly luminaries move over us, and that we don't move at all. That's one of the points I use with people all the time, is that the ancient people who had horse and buggy technology, they knew how to somehow build amazing structures in absolute perfect alignment to the motion of the sun and the moon. And it's still aligning today, allegedly thousands of years later. One of my favorites is Chaco Canyon, where the sun dagger still comes out on the equinoxes, where a light beam goes through this crack and it like splits the spiral circle in half through the sunbeams twice a year, like clockwork, because the luminaries are moving over us. We're not moving at all. And the Mayans knew that. And there was so much more, I think, that they knew, that this, like you say, Vikka, this is like another piece of the puzzle to help us have a greater understanding of where we live.
Oh yeah, brother, well said. Because you see, the astronomy is so important because they knew it was how perfectly it's made, the cycles, and they were following that. That in itself is a evidence of that it's a geostationary Earth and everything moves above us, and those cycles could be followed, and everything could be precisely measured, and it's crazy how precise they are, and the people want to believe that it's all sci-fi and fantasy, but the mainstream media always, they want to use it in their agenda. So the same way they use cosmology, like Sumerians, they also use the Mayan cosmology in their context of everything. So definitely, yeah. So welcome, brother, and we have got Evelyn with us too. Evelyn, how are you?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I am really enjoying this podcast over the different, or should I say, similar creation stories. Yeah, the similarities is just, yeah, it's too much. It's too much. Like they all stem out from the Babylonian times. And spread out around the world. So yeah, it's all really mind blowing. And also, I would like to see some activity in the live chat, some questions. So keep us thinking, keep us busy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Welcome, Evelyn. Great to have you again. And our final panelist, yes, everybody know him too. He's also a star of Flatten the Curve, aeronautic engineer from Flatten the Curve documentary. Brett Freeman, how are you, Brett?
Not bad. Just showing and throwing some support your way. This is one topic I've chosen to not dive too deep into. There were others that were far more knowledgeable than myself, and I figured I could learn it rather than, try to go diving deep into it, because I didn't have the time to do it with what I was doing recently. But I'm looking to learn a few things. My only question would be if they use the 13-month calendar with the 13 new moons, similar to Ethiopia always has, being literally across the realm on the other side, so to speak, with Egypt, kind of being in between. But anyway, let's have a good show and start throwing some knowledge.
Oh yeah, great to have you, brother. And before we jump into it, we are not trying to push any faith on anybody, as we always mention. That is just for research and educational investigation purpose. We are doing all different cosmologies because the main ingredient in all of them is the flat realm, the flat Earth, the geostationary Earth. So that's been said. Let's speak about. They say like the cycle of the creation and destruction, like of the Mayans, like lasted around 5,200 modern years. So the current cycle is believed by the Maya to have begun in either 3,114 BC or 3,113 BC of our calendar, and is expected to end was expected to end in 2011 or 2012. We all know this hype they made about the end of the earth with this cycle thing, right? And as you were mentioning, Brett, like about those 1,000-year difference, like
Yeah, like our coinage shows I 980, like our quarters. You used to say I 980 instead of 1980 because it was the year of Isis 980, not 1980.
okay, in one of the construction there is that difference of the date, right?
Yes, and some people even question whether or not the Mayan calendar reflects the Ethiopian calendar, which is substantially behind what we commonly accept, because they represent 13 months or the 13 new moons. You know, the whole turtle shell reference, how there's 13 large segments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
You actually look at a turtle shell, it's far more of a representation with 28 little segments on the outside of it.
It's 28 days, a lunar cycle, right?
Absolutely, which is
Right.
couldn't be more perfect.
Right. Well, you know, the Kukulkan has 91 steps on all four sides leading up to the last one extra day of the year also.
Same with the Ethiopian calendar. It has 1 day left over.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. That's how they throw the whole half a year off. They throw everything 6 months off between the celebration day is April 1st. Should be, like spring.
The new year
should be the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So. As far as I remember, they also speak about 360 days in a year instead of 365. So they might be using like different calendar. And also about the 13, they say that the heaven was believed to have 13 layers. That's interesting.
That's right.
Right there. Could be about the cycles too. And
yeah, there's 13 new moons every year. And if you do 13 quote unquote months following the 13 new moons, it's every 28 days. And it leaves 1 day left over. 28 times 13, 364.
Right.
Same with that 91 for each 3-month period.
Did you see that structure? I don't know how tall it is or anything. It's not enormous, but it's pretty big. It's crazy how they line that up. What did they know beforehand to line all that stone up and fit the stone perfectly in perfect alignment?
Tools to make those structures.
Oof.
And look at all the intricacies. You know.
Oh man, Rob.
It didn't exist. It's been suppressed.
Just to square it off. I'm sorry, but the 3-4-5 rule it works, yeah, but you got to do that in the jungle with hemp rope 4,000 years ago.
I think they must have had some better knowledge of mathematics and geometry and everything. So.
And the world they lived in.
Yes.
The physical nature of it and the cause and reaction of what we have here. And again, it's just becoming so much more striking to me how all these old cultures are less than 500. The newest one we have is the strangest one, a 500-year-old heliocentric model, and all the cultures. Look at the structures they made. Look at the precision they knew how to wear, when, exactly where to put all that stone, and to fit that stone. I don't know if you ever worked stone before, but it's not easy. And for people to go, yeah, well, if you had enough slaves, like, stop right there. You can't even make license plates in prison right now. So I don't want to hear the slave story, because I don't believe that at all. I never really did. Like, slaves don't do precision high-end work like that, do they? How? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, and the pyramid form is also quite an interesting form. Like, the Mayan cosmology represents this in the center of their universe, the pyramid, which is supposed to represent also the tree, and there is supposed to be a below Earth pyramid too. So, and that pyramid you can see in many different places, from Asia to all the way to Babylonia, Mesopotamia, all the way to Sumeria, Egypt, and all the way to South America too. And it's in a way like representing the layers above and below, and there's a tree in the middle. Quite an interesting form, structure, like, kind of.
The cosmic tree, they called it. And they had from 166 up to like over 200 different gods that they spoke to and conversed with in ways for help, for all kinds of things, from medical to dreaming to when to plant, all kinds of everything. They were talking to all their different deities, over hundreds, a couple hundred of them. It's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, and it was like quite sure that the Mayan knew that the Earth was flat, and they also mentioned about the four corners. Like each corner was located at a cardinal point.
Perfect.
And had a color value, like red for the east, white for the north, black for the west, and yellow for the south.
Wow.
And the center was the color green.
Isn't that also indicative of the tree of life, what we call center north? Isn't that also?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
With the green, us being in the middle. That's great.
And they also believed that they had 4 gods at each corner of the world, of the flat world.
Exactly, and they were called like bakabs. Like they believed that the sky was multi-layered, and that it was supported at the corners by 4 gods of immense physical strength.
Wow.
And also they believed that the sky was supported by 4 trees of different colors and species. They speak about a green tree called ceiba and a silk cotton tree at the center. Like
thousands and thousands of miles apart and thousands of years apart, they talk about the same thing. So great. So cool.
Oh yeah, different variation, of the same thing. Like,
yeah, 9 layers in the Aztec below. They had the world resting on a crocodile. And
exactly.
And the 13 layers above. Excellent.
And 9 underworlds too, yeah.
Right.
So, anybody know how the Egyptians might tie into it? If you actually think about the Egyptians being part of America, have we done that show yet?
We have done Sumerians. We have done Sumerian cosmology. Yeah.
Not in that great detail.
No, we haven't got to. We haven't got to the Egyptians in America yet.
Yeah, but have to be the similar route. But what was exactly You mean the more similarities between them? The Egyptian, the first thing is the pyramid right there.
I think that's another kind of podcast, because that would be the where we discuss the secrets of the Grand Canyon or something like that.
Right. No, I agree. I just wondered if it tied together, being that, South America are not divided by much.
Yeah, and probably less back then.
Yeah. There was less water for sure.
Oh yeah. And also in Egyptian, they had also the Ra, the sun, so the sun also is important in them, and very similar kind of like mutant fusion of different type of animals with gods and with humans, and very similar to some gods and the representations also. We're going to be seeing some more ahead with the elements. So yeah, according to the Mexican, like the Earth being flat was on a back of a giant crocodile resting in a pool of water lilies. The crocodile counterpart in the sky was a double-headed serpent. So, and a concept like probably based on the fact that the Mayas word for sky is similar to the word for snake. Like you can see that in the hieroglyphics, that like the body of the sky serpent is marked not only with its own sign of crossed band, but also those of the sun, the moon, the Venus, and all other celestial bodies.
Right. They paid a lot of attention to Venus. They had the other observatory over there. It was set 27.5 degrees with little windows to witness Venus. Same thing on the first day of spring and autumn. They witnessed the sun, the Venus rise and Venus set. And Venus is really cool because it sort of shows that the sun can't be further out than it, because you see it during the day. You see it pre-dawn and post sunset, so you see it during the dark, which means it can't be where they're saying it's located.
Oh yeah,
it's another nice one.
And also, as I mentioned earlier about those 13 layers, and each layers like had its own god.
Right.
And the underworld had 9 layers with 9 corresponding lords of the night. Like the underworld was a cold, unhappy place and was believed to be a destination of the most Mayan after their death. And heavenly bodies such as the sun, moon, and Venus were also thought to pass through the underworld after they disappeared below the horizon every evening. Doesn't it sound very similar to the Sumerians or the Enoch cosmology of the sun hiding and appearing again?
Very.
Which also, yeah.
There's just slight differences on counts here and there, what they call things. The similarities is almost identical, really. They just change the names to protect the innocent and the guilty. And maybe like you say, the extraterrestrials, like you say, with different cultures, maybe we are from different gods of some sort, and maybe we do have different capabilities from each other, and we offer to each other as well. And that's what we're here doing, trying to share our abilities with each other to further our existences in a different world, if not made less physical. And maybe that's how they knew how to do these things celestially to such precision. The precision is really out of control, you guys. I don't know how well you understand that stuff, but to put a building like that square in the right spots, it's so the sun, so twice a year, the shadow of something hits something else in the right way, over thousands of years. Like, that says so much about how we're not moving anywhere, or else those shadows couldn't be still lining up to such precision. Sorry. If everything was off a quarter of a mile, bigger or slower, everything's off. All of it, everything.
Yeah, that's one of the points I make with globe heads all the time, is that the entire sky moves in perfect unison for all of recorded history. You don't see one or two stars moving a little faster or slower, or moving this way or that way.
Right.
All of them, they all move exactly the same speed in the exact same direction for all of recorded history. And that alone should completely debunk the heliocentric nonsense. But these guys literally can't think for themselves. I mean, I run into people all the time. They cannot consider anything that contradicts the brainwashing that they received since they were born. And I don't get that. So I've just gone back to asking them, just try to question what you believe. You don't have to believe me, you don't have to trust me, but just try to question what you believe and look at what we actually observe in the sky and tell me, how would that work on that heliocentric belief that you have? Because it doesn't work at all.
Keith, you can also throw in there, you can always go back to exactly what you believe. You don't have to leave it. Just put it down for a second.
Yeah, just consider it. I mean, but that's the thing. They can't even consider it. They can't even try to go against. I have a best friend from childhood. He's a teacher. He thinks I'm insane. He cannot even consider the fact that NASA is fraudulent. He received the NASA Teacher of the Year award. So he's for life. He cannot consider anything that I show him, and most of the time he just ends up getting mad. So we just stop talking about it.
Yeah, it's frustrating, brother.
It is.
It sure is.
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to mention about the pyramid structure, and especially with the cosmology of the Mayan connected to that, is that also on the dollar bill, you've got a pyramid, which literally represent the same thing, and if you see really good, you see a flat horizon behind, and you see the circle around. It's literally supposed to be truth in plain sight right there, if you see that dollar bill, because they know the importance of that structure and that what they're trying to portray from it. But for us, it's like Illuminati with the eyes and everything, but the people are not looking there. It's a circle right there above that, and the flat horizon.
And if you draw a pentagram the right way, you hit the letters MASON, which is kind of odd. That works out on the back of a dollar bill. That bothered me forever, ever since I was a kid. Why they got a pyramid on the back of our money? What are they talking about?
Yes, with the eye, with the all-seeing eye on it.
Right. Yeah, that's floating above it, no less.
Yeah, they're showing us the flat Earth with the north center tree and the circle around. That's what they are showing us.
Crazy.
Well, it's their money, so they can put all the symbols that they think.
Yeah. What about the tiny little owl in the top right corner of the one?
Oh, New World Order.
Right. The owl, the wise one.
I think that's depicting the goddess Minerva.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So in the Mayan cosmology, the Earth was formed a different way. First there was supposed to be void, and the gods from the 13th heaven, there were supposed to be two gods, and they mixed together, and they had some few children, and they wanted to make the Earth. So the first thing they made was the sun. The sun is supposed to be the most important first thing, because there's, in the whole creation story of Maya, there are supposed to be 5 different suns. Starting from the first sun, every element had its suns and its ages or its cycles, whatever we're going to call it. Like, it's kind of a war between all these gods, and So they also speak about giants also is involved in here, right? And every god, every element has a god, and they supposed to come and create this earth with a smaller sun. That's how some of their text more or less says about. There could be a bit of variations in there, because the names are quite difficult to pronounce. The god names are quite difficult to pronounce. The one I can only pronounce is Quetzalcoatl. That also I can't pronounce it really right. It's supposed to be the god of the wind, right? It's quite interesting because it's the light was made first.
Yes. I did find a short version story about the creation. That there were two gods, Tepeu, that's the maker, and Gukumats, that was the feathered spirit. And I couldn't help but that was in the beginning, when there was nothing, just darkness and water. And I couldn't help thinking that it is similar to the thought of the Creator and the Holy Spirit moving, the feathered spirit, the Holy Spirit also moving above the waters. So where those are, they are one. And they came together to create the world, and the way that they created was just thinking. So whatever they thought, they created. So they thought, the stars, and they created the stars. And when they thought the earth, land, it formed in the darkness. And they thought of the mountains and the trees and the sky, and everything just appeared instantly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say, you manifest your own life.
Yeah.
Right now, and in ways you do, and I think that all of these things that they're hinting at to us are real things that we could really be doing, and I think they perfected it a long time ago. How they lost it, I don't know. Was it taken or forgotten? Was the flood wash it? Who knows?
Yeah. This is the thing. Maybe the flood washed away the sun, because according to their cosmology, this creation and destruction of the sun and all these different 5 suns or their cycles would happen. So they lost the sun, and they were trying to create the world, because they had that connection with the nature, and they were creating that world and trying to experiment as gods. The most important thing, the sun, the light. And this battle continues in the second sun. So this was supposed to be the first sun with the first element, and then the second god came and overtook the first sun and put his own sun, the way the sun had been formed. So they had these different gods who were somewhere really very majestic, and there were some gods who were normal. They look like normal people, but they were also gods too. And they also speak about the humans and the gods exchanging information or culture or ideas, or what was a two-way thing.
Personally, I understand that stuff. I think because I feel a spirit can appear to you in any way, shape, or form you need it. They're going to be there for you. Whether you read it that way is debatable, but they can show up in the most obscure places and very unexpected. And sometimes you don't even know it until retrospect. I was like, oh my God, that was a message. I should have listened to that. And the more you do listen to that sort of attitude in your mind and appreciate it and acknowledge it, the more you grow a relationship with that part of yourself. and that's a childlike side of you when you had less of the world washing away, but you already understood. And then you get to school and commercials and all that stuff, and all the good stuff is gone. They know that. That's why they do that. What they do to us at such a young age. That's was why. So all these things about creativity and stuff like that, it really could make a lot more sense to us, I think, but they won't tell us. We're here figuring it out.
Oh yeah. So as Evelyn was mentioning about these two gods had 4 children of this dual god, because these were supposed to be dual god, the polarity in a way, decided that they would like to create a world and some people to live in it, and took them several tries before this world became the way we know it today, because the gods fought over who should do the first attempt at creation. And Quetzalcoatl and other gods, so the first sun was supposed to be made of the fire, which was the sun, but it wasn't big or strong enough to give much light or heat, as it was only half of the sun. Well, we're having some background. And then also Quetzalcoatl made a man and a woman. They called the woman, like, also they gave her the corn, and this corn was supposed to be also kind of a medicine for the people.
Yeah, right away they had medicine for us to keep us healthy in case something happened.
Yeah, but the interesting part here is that there's a real battle going after between these gods to make the sun, because there was no time before this, so they had to create time.
So the 4 children, was that the directional? Like it was north, south, east, and west? Is that what that refers to? When the sky and the...
No, time maybe because of the movement of the luminaries.
Okay.
Because that's how we keep time, no?
That's the clock.
That's how we keep the time, so...
Yeah, I got a question for you guys, though, because a lot of us say that the stars never move, and it doesn't. They don't appear to shift position. There's no parallax at all, which means the further ones will move slower than the closer ones, right? Like when you're driving, things further away move slower. But every once in a while, you hear that there's high sensitive, gadgets, what is it? Telescopes, I guess, that do show sort of shifts, but then they shift back. So is there any variation at all? Are they just doing little tiny circles within themselves somehow, or is any of that really true? Because it is, on one hand, maybe it does. Maybe if they just buzz around a little, there's movement. Oh, wow, there's movement, right? They're going to call that movement.
Stars are called planets. If you look at the Latin, planet means wandering star. The rest are in its orbit, in its circuit.
Right. No, I mean the stars, though, because some people say they're highly sensitive instruments that can detect that they are moving.
Yeah, and one that shows movement or shaking of the earth. They got a seismograph, right?
Right.
But they can find one that shows us moving as a globe. Yeah, it's those same people that are.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's kind of what I'm getting at, because if there is any movement that they call a movement, all it can be is just a shift back and forth of some sort, like a buzz, like a vibrational type of movement, where it's not moving closer to any other star or further away at all, but maybe they're just a little tiny shift that goes back and forth. I was just trying to clarify that, because I hear a lot that there is movement and it can be verified. And
I almost feel for Dylan on the chat there, because everything I bring up, I go to the chat afterwards, and he's already said it. Sorry, Dylan.
So I don't know. That crosses my mind every once in a while when we do say that the stars are in the same position, but these people are still claiming everyone. I had my cousin claim that to me once.
They move, obviously, right, with respect to us
and each other.
Meaning that every 90 days, it's 90 degrees off. Which is
right.
Why that's the whole year, which is why you get the swastika to begin with, right? Which is the big
right.
Through the 4 seasons, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. That's the yearly calendar.
Correct.
Tells you what time of the year it is. Yeah.
But one question to ask is, yes, if you have a star that's 100 times further away, yet still emitting light and you can see it, why is it not moving so much slower than the stars that are 100 times throughout the night, every night?
Right. Over 1,000 years, even. A portion of what they're calling it.
It's hot trap.
Yeah. All right. No, I just wanted to throw that out there because it's crossed my mind a few times. And how are they claiming that? Where meanwhile, nothing shows that they're moving, but these guys will claim it. I've heard it, and the more I look, the more I'm starting to hear that. So I don't know what they use, what they're calling it, but it doesn't show up over long periods of time in any quality type of distances. So like you said, the planets, they come around and they do their thing. So yeah, there's differences in where they are, but it comes back to the same spot.
Right. They also they can see 9,000 miles if they're in the southern hemisphere. No equator is a 7,900 mile diameter.
Yeah.
The Southern Cross and how you can't see the northern star.
Right, exactly. It's impossible at that point.
You can still only so far.
The Earth is in the way somewhere.
Exactly. Trees and you're at the horizon at that point. So I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes, it should be impossible to see past a quarter of the ball that you're standing on. And you know what? Give the height of the stars. Okay, so a little bit further. So you go a little bit past the equator, maybe. But that's it.
Yeah, I don't know how far into the firmament, but
right. No, sooner or later, very close after the equator, you have to lose sight of the North Pole. Very close afterwards, because the height of the distance, but that all gets washed away because you can still see it. So it becomes like a moot point. It negates itself.
So are there similarities between the Aztecs and Mayans that is brutally noteworthy as far as graphs and the hieroglyphs, or however you want to word it? I know that all of them have the pineal gland in their drawings, or the acorn, or the pine cone.
Mm-hmm.
I know some are very large as opposed to some being very small as far as the individuals themselves. But if anybody knows, even biblical, even Moses and Abraham and them were 20 feet tall. So compared to us, they're still giants.
Yeah, some of the hieroglyphs show that the size difference between the stone and the people, and some of the people carrying the stone, is enormous difference in the Egyptian hieroglyphs that you see. Where the blocks were carried across a stick, like off a rope, across your shoulders on a stick. They had one block on each side of the stick, representing the size of the pyramid. So if you're big enough to hold 2 blocks on a stick across your shoulders, build those pyramids, you're a big dude.
Yeah, you are one ginormous dude. Guy that keeps the Wing of Kings.
Right.
Yeah, I believe that there were indeed giants that helped make build the monuments, the pyramids, and other.
Yeah, I've seen some of the doors and stuff.
Well, that strikes me because some of these people say aliens, which is kind of funny. So they're throwing something in there to throw the scent off the dogs, because they're willing to say aliens did it, help them.
Alien means foreign to me. Just means
exactly. Doesn't mean it's. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because in the Mayan cosmology, they speak about that they made these humans, and then also they were giants, and the other god, when he made the second sun, so they had to take out all these giants and all these people, because they speak about giants that were so huge they could just rip off a tree from the ground with a hand. They literally speak about that in the Mayan text. Right there we have two. So according to that creation story, their god made the man and the woman, and the man were supposed to be a farmer and the woman were supposed to be doing weaving. And then the god gave the woman the gift of maize, the corn, which is supposed to be, they believe that it's a gift from the underworld, from the gods, and the insects and all that help him to find it, to one of the gods, to bring it for the humanity, or this race they build, the first race of this first sun, of the first element, supposed to be the fire.
That's interesting. A gift from the underworld would be something growing out of the ground, though. That's cool.
Oh yeah, brother.
Makes sense, right? Yeah, I like that. Food is a gift. Been thinking about all your food out there, everybody.
Exactly. And the man, as farmer, who had to work the land, even though there was already a half sun, and even though they were already a man and a woman, they did by making days and month, like each month at 21 days, and when 18 months, this makes 360 days. And that span the god called a year.
So I wonder how they divided that, though, to get, where did the other 5 days go?
No idea, but they have to have some calculations to, maybe that's why, because it was a half sun, so there was a different calculation, right?
Mm. All right, think about that.
And then after they placed a giant fish, and that fish, like the earth was made out of that fish, in a way. In some of the texts they speak about that. There are one version they speak like this, then there are other version we speaks about a giant female goddess, and it's the rest of her body is the earth. There's another variation of they speak about, and the same thing, the hair are supposed to be the trees, and the same the eyes are the caves, and all the different part of the body are the mountains. And
in a more literal sense, though, isn't that kind of what we have all over the realm? I mean, people are finding all kinds of things that are reminiscent, like muscle tissues. There's a certain area where it looks exactly like muscle fibers. Obviously, we've seen the large hands and the large feet of petrified objects, and that's not up for dispute. That is a given at this point.
Yeah. You're talking about over in Oregon, Brett? There's a guy in Oregon pointing at. Sorry?
There's a show called Alaska Off Grid. And like episode 3, I have it on my Facebook, but episode 3 or episode 7, he's on the face of this cliff and they're building this house. And then they take the drone and go up. And you guys have probably seen it, where this guy looks like he's walking in between a set of fingers.
Yeah. I might have seen what you said.
And it's
Is that in Alaska?
Yeah, it's Alaska Off Grid.
No kidding.
The show's called. I don't know if he's in Alaska, but it's like, oh my gosh, I've seen this. Because I, for years, actually went to look to see where this was at. Like when I was looking for the Winged King in Mexico, the Badlands. But anyway, that's getting off topic. But yeah.
Cool stuff.
Stones.
Yeah, So the first son actually was not so much working for them. So there was again conflict between these gods, and the second they wanted something much more bigger, at least double the size, and also in the light. They wanted this sun to be much more better than the old one as a whole sun, and give enough light to the world that the god had made. And it was supposed to be the beginning of the first age of the world. The first sun and the gods also wanted more beings in their new world, so they made a race of giants who ate nothing but pine nuts. And these giants were supposed to be very large and very strong.
I can relate to that. Just eating nuts.
Oh yeah, they speak a lot about only these humans, or these early humans, or these giants living off of different one consumption of one thing only. So the
Really?
corn also was one part of it. This is one part of it, and the other god had some other thing. So it was
No
like a
way.
magical nutrient or alimentation for the race, and these were supposed to be given to them by their gods.
That is so cool. I went on a diet years ago. I don't know if you remember, but I ate mostly peanuts every day, 2-3 handfuls, and I worked up to it. I didn't just do that overnight. I worked out. It took a long time to get to that point, but that's about all I ate for a year and a half. I had some fruit here and there, but my diet was peanuts and water, and it was awesome. I went to the doctor. I gained like 3 pounds in the 2 years I hadn't seen him. He's like, "Oh, what are you up to? What's this?" I'm like, "Oh, really? Sit down. I got a story to tell you, doc." So I find food interesting because I think they push this food on us just because it will become habitual and not necessary to the capacity we use it for, and all these celebrations like Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is more of a division between families, and they took it all away and they give us one day to celebrate. All right, go see your family. Go ahead and celebrate. Be happy about it. That's how I look at it. It's all backwards, twisted, and
I don't think anything we learned
right, bro?
Was real.
No, this is everything, all of it, a bunch of garbage. What I learned from people like you, my friends like you guys, all the stuff I learned that seems to be more applicable in real life than anywhere in school, really. E equals MC squared, right? Everybody knows that one. But nobody knows what it really means, really. And you can't apply it in life.
Oh yeah, brother. So this first sun cycle, or the first sun age, was supposed to be 13 times 52 years. Like, I don't know how much it, maybe 600 plus years or something of the first sun.
13 times 4 is 52. And that's a deck of cards.
Yeah, the numerologies there have to be, brother. So
that's interesting.
Also the number of weeks.
Oh yeah.
Right. 13 and yeah. Wow, cool. Look at that.
So the sun had reigned for long enough. So one of the gods, between their brother, they had a fight, and like kind of I would say he hit him with a club on his head, like plummeting him down into the abyss of the water. Could be. Sounds similar. That encircled the world.
Right. Wow.
So what Quetzalcoatl had done, like he rose up out of the water in the shape of a giant jaguar and roamed and hunted all the giants and everyone and all of them and all the giants have been eaten. Like, so he like kind of sounds very familiar with the kind of flood in a way, the killing of giants and whatever race that was before in that age, in that
Right.
first sun.
Yeah, right. And he came out of the water, metaphorically speaking, right? So it's kind of side by side, right? They see how they twist the story and put a little here and they change it there, and they distort it just enough to make them all different and very interesting.
Exactly. And also he speaks about that Quetzalcoatl came as a wind, and he blew away everything, so, and that some of the people have turned into even animals. It speaks about monkeys, birds, and different animals. It's crazy because the mainstream globe people, there, our Darwin theory wants that the human comes from the animal, and here in a way it's speaking about that these gods turn the humans into animals.
Right, yeah. You see? Pretty brilliant how they do this.
Yeah,
And the evolution.
Just like when God turned some group of people also in animals, in elephants and monkeys. Those are the Hindu gods.
Right. Yes. Personally, I want to experience every life form that I could imagine down here. Like, I want to know what it's like to be a tree and a cat and a dog and a fish and a rock. All of it. I really do. It's a very interesting place, and there's a lot to learn down here. I think this whole life is a day in kindergarten for your soul. So that the body is like a vehicle. You like your first car, you're like, oh, you keep it clean, everything. By the time you're done with your fifth car, you don't know how to remember your first car, kind of thing.
According to Black's Law Dictionary, your body is a vehicle.
Right? It is. And you know what, bro? It's also the intangible controlling the tangible. Your mind is wherever your mind is coming from, or whoever it is, whatever you call it, your mind is controlling your body. So you can't, it's kind of weird, but you can't say no. It's the intangible controlling the tangible. It's great. It's so cool. Little remotes, right? Yeah. So the thing that makes me think of these things is because, when you use your mind like that, and you realize we're all in the same field, and, we can get pictures across the world in 10 seconds, be like, wow, yeah, communicate over a picture. We could do that all without the phone. And that's what I think these people were doing back then. So that's why I find this stuff so interesting and fascinating, because I think they took a lot of great stuff away from us.
They could have been using technology, or some way of technology have to be of communication,
Right.
Maybe they're making us feel that these smartphones are the first time that we are. There are some hieroglyphics in every culture which shows some amazing machinery stuff, and pistons and gadgets and.
Right. What would appear to be guys laying in a rocket, possibly. It's just interpretation and, whatever you think, but it looks similar, a little creepy even. And then you get to know these things and how they did know what they were doing 100 years ago, and then you see them portraying it like it's new today. It's like, oh, wait a second. All these little things, the bigger things, the medium things, it's great picking them apart.
Oh yeah, that's why we are here. So yeah, we're quite an interesting topic today, guys. So we're gonna be taking a short break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys.
Very cool.
My name is Joshua Silva. I am a licensed commercial pilot and flight instructor. I have had a lifelong love of aviation and aerospace, and when growing up I even fancied myself an amateur astronomer.
Number one, I'm a pilot, and when I used to fly out of Long Island towards Nantucket, bottom line here is they're going to give you some type of formula for every 100 miles. They're going to give you some type of XYZ per kilometer squared.
Been in aviation for 21 years. Anything from helicopters to aerostats to big birds, little birds, fighter jets, things with engines, no engines, big blades, little blades, compressor blades.
I woke up to the truth of the flat earth, shape of the earth, as an engineer and a pilot.
I'm a merchant marine. I've been sailing 15 years. I graduated from the Paul Hall Maritime Center out of Piney Point, Maryland. I primarily sail on container ships, tankers, drill ships, military cargo vessels, you name it, I can sail on it.
Work experience. I joined the Navy when I was 17 years old. I had a secret security clearance. There's different levels of security clearance. There's a lower level, then there's a secret, which is what I had.
I'll be providing my in-depth experience of U.S. Navy submarines and how they prove we do not live on a globe Earth. However, due to the nature of my job and the security clearance that I hold, I wish to remain anonymous.
All right, welcome back, guys, to the show. We are having Jeannie, we have Keith, we have Evelyn, and we have Brett Freeman with us. I'm going to give a quick shout out to the people in the chat. Is Dr. Frankenstein, is Dylan James, Jess Palmer, FE Nation, Cover to Cover with Jeremy Pierce, people from Facebook, and there's Evelyn there too, and then there is Jay Daddy, Rachel Everson, more people from Facebook. Mike Sudnik, we got Tim Fernhout, Jonas Fig, Tommy Rogers is there too, Stephanie Campbell, some name I can't even read. It's Great Diet, Fruit, Nuts, and Seeds is equal H3O2. Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Dark Throne. Yeah, if you're here for first time, do subscribe. And yeah, some diets in those ages, in those times were like almost magical food, food for the soul. Yeah, so they were like, if they were given something special like that, that had that kind of energy for these races to maybe live longer or be much more bigger, So getting back with the different suns. So like the sun during this age of also these people, like as I mentioned earlier, they were eating nothing but pine nuts, and the second age also lasted for 676 years. Until one of the gods took his revenge on his brother, came to the world in in a blast of wind so great that Quetzalcoatl and the other god were blown away, although some of the muscle quality escaped the blast, and these ones turned into monkeys and they ran away into the jungle, like to live after the time. So when the second sun was complete, the god of the rain, whose name was, it's quite difficult names they have, who was special in making things sprout, you know. So, and that continued. So the third son, this age lasted for 77 times 52 years, or 364 years. Like during this age, the people also ate seeds of plants that grew in the water. That was another special kind of diet they had. So again, sounds very familiar with the creation and destruction of the races and the cycles, you know. So
It makes me wonder about the memory of the water, how it gets split up, where it goes, how it's distributed, what it could do, you know. Where is it now?
oh yeah, they also had one goddess especially for the rivers, streams, you know, everything that had to do with water.
Wow. Yeah, they had so many, and they're very specific. I love that. I love that idea.
Yeah, and the best part is all these different suns are connected to a different element. So, and here we have the element of water right now, you know.
Yeah, it reminds me, like, you know, you need medicine today. You have a headache, you take aspirin. You have a stomach ache, you take whatever. You know, there's different things for different ailments. So this is what it reminds me of. And I like mental healing way better than any other. You know, I've had stitches and a couple surgeries I couldn't avoid, but anything from that. So I freaked a kid out once when I was little. I knew how to heal myself. And someone asked me, "Where's that cut you had the other day?" I'm like, I didn't like that, so I had to make it go away. It was on my knee. I had a problem flexing my leg. So I just, you know, as a kid, you understand those things better, guys, right? And so this kid was like, "Yeah, right, yeah, prove it." So I had another cut, and I'm like, "Watch, I'll make this go away." And it was, you know, it didn't need stitches or anything, but it was a nice scrape. And that's how it worked for me, and it still kind of does. You know, I'm grown up now. It works a little less. The world washed over me, and I'm trying to get myself back. But that stuff's real. You know, you think about it. Doctor only puts your stitches in so the cut doesn't open. It heals itself. It's the same like a broken bone. It heals itself. They just stabilize things. They're making us sick, so they go in to stabilize us. Blah 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 blah. Big vicious cycle. They got us on a hamster wheel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and seriously, the food is very mental and very habitual.
Yeah, and very important for the right way.
Yes.
There's better than gold in the chat, and he's saying Quetzal equals Satan. Yeah. In which way? Everything is Satan. If it's not from the Abrahamic religion, is it like that? It's just representation of different gods and giants, which are also mentioned in Enoch and whatever different cosmology we speak about, and the Nephilim. So, can you, if you wanna break down what it really means, Satan, and why?
You know, everybody needs to hear the same story, different way to understand it. Like, I need to hear it my way. You need to hear it your way. Everybody needs to hear things their own way, and it has to come in from an angle that you're able to understand it from. And it might be a different subject, like we're on the cosmology lately, but that might not be everybody's angle either, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a representation. Go ahead. Who wants to go ahead?
Vic, I was just going to say I'm going to bounce. I have to work hard. But I will be on next week for sure. And real quick, if you know that guy Blitz PhD on TikTok, I'd really like to debate him, even on your show. I've tried, I've reached out, but if anybody knows how to get that guy, this guy's a clown. But anyway.
Oh yeah, but if you can contact him anyway, and if you wanna organize something, let us know. Yeah, we would be fun.
If you want
Yeah.
I would recommend it. Blitz PhD, no space.
That'd be great.
I'm a bounce off, man. You guys take it easy, and it's always good to learn new stuff. So, you guys take.
Oh yeah, thanks, brother, for being here, Brett.
Great to see you, brother.
Too bad Harry's not here. Harry's into the resets and the cosmologies of starting over again. And I think the Mayans talk about that. And, you know, you mentioned that with the Mayans a few times. The Native Americans here in the United States allegedly say that we've had 5 different resets where things were destroyed and started over. And then the Mayans are saying there's 5. And it seems like a lot of the stories probably are the same stories, just maybe crisscrossed or told by different people, or like you just said, Gene, you know, somebody heard it a little bit differently, so they told it a little bit differently. So it's well possible a lot of the stories are just the same story.
You know what, bro? You just mentioned 5 extinctions. You know, scientists will tell us that, and right where we're talking is at the Chicxulub crater over there, right? So it's kind of funny how this is lining up really nicely right now. Very cool.
Oh yeah, because for the mainstream or the people from now, this is always very mythological and very fantastic, but it's just a way of expressing the same thing which is there in different cosmologies. Because, for example, as I mentioned, that there's this during the time of this sun or this goddess, which was supposed to be representing the waters, the rivers, the streams, like water in all manners, like. So, and we are speaking about during this sun, 6 times, like 52 years or 312 years. Then the 4th sun age was a time of great rain. So this was supposed to be the time of great rain. Okay. And it's speaking about that it's rained so much, so hard that there was a great flood that covered the earth. The flood washed away the massive, like turning everything, like turning also some of them into fish. Like that's according to their, who know with this.
There's legends of mermaids and stuff like that, though, right? Zeus.
Yeah, that's definitely. I know that's definitely part of the Mayans. Is that a couple? I think brother and sister or some twins. I don't know the whole story, but they died and they somehow became mermaids or mermen. And like I said, even that story, it's being reproduced by Hollywood right now. I went and watched Black Panther the other night, part 2, and the evil guy in that one is a winged. He has wings on his ankles, and he can live underwater, and that's where his kingdom is. But he can come above water and still breathe. But the rest of the people in his kingdom cannot come above water and breathe. And it's just like they mix up all these stories, and it makes me wonder how much of it might be legit and how much of it might just be, you know, made up. It's just like Christopher Columbus, just made up stories.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It sure did, with a little bit of truth sprinkled around.
Exactly. A little bit of truth and a lot of lies. A little bit of truth, a lot of lies. It seems to be
have backwards truth, so you really think something's this and it's complete opposite, and when you realize it's opposite, you can't even think that it's real anymore. It's crazy how they did this.
Yeah,
it really is.
And one thing is quite interesting here is that this concept of giants and the concept of monsters, this concept of different mutations with animals, and if it's been shown in every cosmology, mostly, there could be truth. There could be that these gods or these race or whatever that they were that high tech to create these kind of creatures, because we have creatures who are supposed to be the negative ones, the monster and the giants, and then we have monsters or entities or giants who are supposed to be good too, in a way, in different cosmologies. Like, for example, as we spoke about before, like the Ganesha in the Vedic cosmology, it's a elephant with a human body. In the Egypt we have those with the eagles and everything, and in the Mayans, and also we have some things in the Sumerian cosmology, right? Well, so there was a kind of war of giants and monsters, good and bad, trying to protect the humanity or the race that was living through. No, could be.
It could be. Yeah, very well could be. There's so many similarities on all the cosmologies that we've talked about, and I think we've talked about 7 or 8 of them now. But they all just seem to have that common thread of the humans and the animals and the giants and the flat Earth cosmology. It's in all of them. Everyone we look at has something very similar.
And how important the sky is. The stars, they looked at the stars, and they have us looking at stars on TV now. The irony is just outstanding, and the similarities going on is truly amazing.
I watched a video earlier this week, the newest one by John Levi. Did any of you guys see that?
Nah, Levi's great.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was something, I think it was called Judah and California, but it was all about these different cities that have biblical names that are in the western United States.
Right.
Even back in the day, when California was allegedly an island on some of the old maps, the water that was between the mainland U.S. and California was called the Red Sea.
Really?
Yeah, there's all these cities in the western U.S. that have the same exact names as what we would think of as the Middle East today. And so, and Brett was talking at the beginning of the podcast about the possible relationship between the Egyptians and the Mayans.
Right.
We don't know. I mean, is it possible that Israel and the Jews and whoever, those Bible stories happen right here in America, and somehow during one of the resets, because you look out west and it got obliterated by heat. I mean,
something happened.
In that same video, he shows a video of someone else that went and did some boots on the ground research, and one of the mountains that looks like a melted building, they started beating on it with a hammer, and sure enough, underneath part of the melted, they found red brick.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. So there's so much that we don't know, but it seems like if we keep digging, we'll find little bits of truth here and little bits of truth there, and hopefully get a better picture or a clearer picture of where we came from, and hopefully then where we're going.
Absolutely. And the Smithsonian did a nice job for 100 years covering up what Kincaid found in the Grand Canyon. Right? Pyramids, supposedly, a Sphinx, and tons of all kinds of Eastern artifacts, Buddhas, and just a ton of stuff and now it's all got very suspicious looking names of parts over there, what they call it, and it's roped off. They stepped in, they roped it off, and it's right. Area 51.
Right.
Not allowed in for your own safety.
I also saw it was a meme someone had made it to, and I don't know if it was the Mayans or the Aztecs, but it was the layout of the city around one of the pyramids, and it looked almost identical to the layout around the city of the Vatican. So that was very interesting.
Yeah. Their interest in the stars always kind of puzzled me. So now I'm glad to remember stuff like that, because I knew I was onto something, just didn't know what. So now I carry that with me. Nice. It's cool. They know something. We're supposed to be looking at these things and figuring out when to do what and what. Who knows what though? But, it's killing me.
Like the earth, the sky, and the below earth, all is connected. Everything, every element is supposed to be connected. That's why they speak about those ley lines and those energy points, because everything, we have even water below, which creates the crossing of different holy waters that create these energy points. So these constructions, these water bodies, these gardens, these star forts, everything has a meaning. These pyramids, these designs, every construction, every culture has a meaning and a significance why it's there. It's connected with all the realms.
Yeah, bro. You know, the star forts are really important, and the fact that they're pretty much completely overlooked in any history seems to be fascinating. And I think they do that because there's up to like 5,000 of those things around the world. And that's how do you explain that? Just for
Yeah,
Keith,
that's Noah.
yeah,
That's
you like that stuff, Keith. You got the dry tortugas down there by you, right?
Yeah, I got an hour north of me. We have the city of St. Augustine, which is allegedly the oldest city in the United States, and there's the Star Fort there. And you go in, and you take the tour, and they tell you all the bullshit about it being a fort. And it's just and those things are everywhere,
all over, bro.
Architecture, it's in every country, every continent, and so much of it is lined up with the sun and the moon and the stars. And whoever these ancient people were, they knew a whole lot more than we know today. And maybe there's people alive, controllers, evil people, whoever they might be, who knows how it works. We're figuring out how it works. Maybe we'll never figure it out in our lifetime.
Right. Yeah.
It's a fascinating subject to start looking at flat Earth. And I tell people all the time recently, I said, flat Earth is not even about flat Earth. It's just about the lie that you've been brainwashed with, so that you'll believe all the other lies that they give you.
Right.
And if you can see the truth that the Earth is flat, I think it empowers you to start seeing other truths as well.
It really deeply teaches people not to trust themselves as well, bro. Without them even knowing it. If you can't tell with all these things people are pointing out that we're not moving, you don't feel like you're moving because we're not. Water's a motion sensor, like Jurassic Park. That new meme going around is great because in that movie, it gets silent. You don't hear the footsteps of the dinosaur. You see them in the cup.
Yeah, I saw that meme. That's good.
It's excellent, right? It's like, that's great.
Oh yeah, that's my meme. Yeah,
is it? I love it, brother. Funny. See, awesome.
I think you hit the nail on the head, though. That they don't want you trusting yourself. They don't want you trusting your own feelings. I mean, I think that's a big part of most all of the religions, is that it's mind control for what I call the dumb masses. And don't say those two words too quickly together, because it sounds like dumb masses. But there's people, so dedicated to their faith and their religion that someone else told them about, and they told them this is the way it is. This is the truth of whether it's Jesus or Krishna or Allah or whatever it is. People are not trusting themselves. They're trusting what someone else says. And I think that's the purpose of the lie of the globe. And that's the purpose of the lie in many of the religions as well, is don't trust yourself. Whereas we get back to the Mayans and the subject of tonight, whoever they were, I think they knew how to trust themselves and trust God and trust the animals and trust the sun and moon and the stars. And in my world, faith is trust. Trust is faith. I use those two words interchangeably. But the lies of the system are to get you to not trust yourself at all.
Really true. And to not have that internal conversation going on well with yourself is so important.
Oh, most people don't even know that they're having a conversation internally. They're so I call them zombies. My kids call them zombies, but I mean, we all have an internal dialogue going all the time, and most people are not of the internal dialogue going on inside of them from moment to moment.
I think about it all the time. They're probably a little too much, and bro, that's why prayer is supposed to be a personal thing. You're supposed to whisper to yourself when you're in deep prayer. It's a meditative sort of state, and nobody's supposed to be around when you do that.
Yeah, I agree. And you got churches, especially the Christian churches that I grew up in, they stand up in the pulpit and give a prayer, and they won't. I don't know. Yeah, I grew up in that, and it always felt weird to me when I was into it. And I look at it now, and I still have what I would call a prayer life, or times that I pray. And that's more for me nowadays. That's more just being silent and taking time to listen. Because if prayer is a conversation, but the Christian prayers usually is just someone talking and not taking any time to listen, that's the opposite of what real prayer is. Whatever
Yeah,
the Mayans believed about that, I believe they probably had some sincere times of silence to listen to the animals or listen to God.
yeah. Watch the stars.
Yeah, watch the stars.
You know, and you know that's why they made crazy people talking to themselves. Oh, he's talking to himself. He's mumbling to himself. He's crazy. No, he's not. He's in deep prayer. You know, he's ignoring everything in this world. He's talking to people, and you know, in a great world.
Oh yeah, some people from go ahead, Evelyn.
No, sorry, I was just going to say this. I do that a lot. Talk to myself, not to myself, but yeah. My husband sometimes walks in the room and says, "You talking to yourself again?" So, yeah.
That's right.
Actually not, but yeah.
Yeah, somebody from Facebook is saying, I'm not seeing anything. I thought it would be a video. It's, I don't know if you can see us, our thumbnails. That's what, and we do normally audio podcast. Very rarely we do screen sharing. So okay, yeah. After this fourth son, you know, so this quarrel, this fighting between these gods, finally they made peace with one another, you know, and then went down to rebuild the world again, you know. So this god each went to the ends of the world where they transformed themselves into great trees with their mighty tree limbs. They pushed the sky up into its place and they hold it there still. But what does it sound like? What does it sound like? The giant trees right there holding the sky. And they speak about this, instead of 4 angels, they have the 4 trees that holds the 4 corners in a way.
Right.
Giant trees. And it's holding the heavens or the sky. So their father God from up saw that like their kids gods are trying to rebuild it, you know, and that's why he made then the heaven for them, the starry heaven, and a highway in the stars, which is supposed to be the Milky Way. Interesting, right?
Very. You know, and they built that tower because they needed the height, because that area is so flat for so far that there's nothing. They couldn't have moved to a mountain anywhere because there were none. It's so flat that they needed to build the Kubla Khan, and it's only like, I don't know how tall it is. It's really not enormous.
Exactly.
But when you get on top, you can see what they talk about, where the sky meets the earth. And then the other one, what's the other one? El Cacol, right? 27 degrees off, perfect north and south, and that was for Venus. It's so cool. So that was like their observatory. You know, that was their observatory. Look how important it was. They built these structures like this for that reason.
Oh yeah. And these gods created new people to walk upon the earth once the sky had been put in its place. So one of the gods took flint and used it to make fire. And this fire lit the world because of the old sun was destroyed in the flood. Interesting, right?
Yeah, really.
So there was like a kind of a war between them and creating the people and the humans and the light and the sun and the earth. And sounds very similar also with the Anunnaki saga in a way, had the same family feud of gods who was trying to create a world. And so there were different ages and different cycles and different, so everybody gets their share or cycle, or so looks like, sounds like, right?
Sure it does. A couple of layers are different. Maybe the animals are different, but they'll end up coming around to be the same somehow.
Right. So as the old sun was destroyed in the flood, and a new one had not been made, so, and also there was no people for the giants, because the giants had devoured them, and many have been turned into monkeys, birds, and fishes, according to some of their. So together they decided to make a new kind of sun, so that's why they have this, some of their, even in the movies about their sacrifice, human sacrifice, right? In that time, they speak about, because of the present sun age, according to them, so that's why it's shown in the Maya.
Giants always make me wonder, because it's such a vague term. We don't know how big things are. We have no idea. So then I go right to that scenario I like to use. If this whole place could be compared to a bubble in a pool, and what size is the giant that it takes to jump in that pool? How big is that to us, right? That's a big giant. And then everything in between.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What we know about the giants is that the bigger ones were the first generation giants, and then after that they sort of got smaller after the flood. It was because the the giant gene that they were carrying, it was sort of diluted, so they weren't producing bigger ones. They were, in every generation, they got smaller and smaller and smaller, because the gene would be sort of more and more diluted in the gene pool.
And so was the intelligence diluted as well? Right? Proportionately.
One of the Facebook users saying, Earth is a whale, best nutrients for growing, and bone meal, fish meal, and rock dust.
Okay.
And then he also mentioned that it's in Matthew 12:40. Even in the Mayan cosmology, the earth, the physical earth, is made out of the fish. So sounds very similar. Yeah, so the last sun, the fifth sun, the sun we are having today, is, so according to their creation story with these gods, they're trying to create a new sun for the new race. So sounds like, so maybe every race, they show, according to them, that every race had their own sun and was destroyed until we had this sun. So they literally, because it goes a very long way in explaining, right, like how these gods were putting the energy on the fire and trying to create the sun, that it appears from the fire and goes up in the sky, so they were trying everything in a way, experimenting these different gods, so one god put something in the fire and the sun was up, and the next one made another thing trying to copy him. So, and one of the other god took a rabbit and hit one of the sun, because two suns were too much light. The people couldn't even see. So one of the god took a rabbit and hit to the sun, and that sun became the moon. That's why it has that figure of a rabbit. Sounds very like, yeah. So it's all part of their creation story. So and in one part it speaks about like the god, these gods, different gods trying to make this sun. Some were high level gods and some were low level gods. So one of these low level god, in a way, managed to get in the fire, and that his sun was the one we have today, because it was the real sun, according to them. And it speaks about this god's name. I cannot pronounce it really correctly, but the meaning of that god is called the movement of the sun. Imagine, the god's name is movement of the sun. What is it saying right there?
That's great. These guys, modern science calls all this talk archaic. Almost everything else they did was fantastic, but they had no idea where they were. It's so funny. It's so ironic. There's the disconnect. People can't. Well, they can't, but hopefully they'll be able to figure it out. That they're really telling us. Both sides are telling us. The 5 extinctions is really crazy. I didn't realize that the Mayans had 5 different suns. That's what it reminds me of. Science.
Or 5 different ages, 5 different cycles, 5 different the evolution of their world. The way they try to describe it.
Right, that's really cool.
Their creation story, yeah. And so you can see there are quite a few things of similarity right there too.
Sure.
And
I don't like similarities that are just kind of put there to look funny, though, because people look over them, right? You're like, that doesn't mean anything. So many things like that now, though, guys, right? So we got a lot of ammunition to use for ourselves here. Very cool. So this is another reason why all these are really cool, bro, because now you could talk to so many more different people about where they come from and their cultures and how they've tried to prove it to people back then when they were alive. That's cool.
Good point.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, I think all of these creation stories can be taken with a grain of salt, knowing that a lot of it, even in the Bible, I think is symbolism or metaphors or allegory. And, a lot of people, I think, get in trouble trying to think that everything is literal. But if we just realize, hey, maybe that symbolism, what did that mean? What was the symbol pointing to? Which truth was it pointing to? I feel like, and I don't really read or study the Bible much anymore like I used to, but if or when I do in the future, it'll be with that perspective of a lot of things are symbolism. A lot of things are poetry or allegory and all these similarities that we're seeing could all be trying to point to one simple greater truth that we just haven't grasped it yet, or we just don't have the understanding for it yet. I mean, some of it seems pretty simple and pretty self-explanatory, but a lot of it, the symbolism that's in all of these creation stories could be pointing to something that we don't even have an idea about just yet.
I agree with that, Keith, 100%, bro. They're holding back on so much. I do think they know also, or at least most of it. They might be trying to reverse engineer some things in ways, but they know what they're doing. They wouldn't hide so much if they didn't. They wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't be able, if they didn't know so much, they wouldn't be able to hide it, really.
Oh, yeah, but go ahead.
I'm just saying it's easy to hide the truth when people are so, obsessed with their sports teams and the movies and everything else that, jockeys for our attention. I mean, my wife jokes with me all the time, but half serious, that I have ADD, that I can't focus on any one thing, more than a few minutes. But that's part of the problem, or the system, that this matrix that we live in, is everything is jockeying for our attention all day, every day. I mean, and I'm a guy that likes to contemplate things. I like to sit down and get quiet and think about this and focus deeply about a certain subject. And I find it, as I get older, I've found it harder and harder to do. And I think part of that is the world that we live in.
Yeah,
exactly. Because it's because, brother, you see that there's one thing very common also about these ancient cosmology, or like, they were very nature connected people. They were literally observing and doing things connected to people. Even the same thing with the Mayan too, the growing of crops, the sun, the thing, so living according to the nature, all this, as different ones have to, it's in a way quite important for our mind, in a way, like, because before we used to live like community. There is no more community, so we all are being so much distracted with everything from a local level to a personal level to a collective level, that it's so much manipulated that it cannot, as we say, it's part of the matrix, so.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting to see that even at that timeline, that if it's a real timeline about these Mayas, about the culture, about the way their construction, their knowledge, their creation story, the way they describe the earth, they look quite knowledgeable race civilization for their timeline. They were not. People running in the jungle, so because
right. Exactly.
Yeah, so calling any of these people or any race or any as indigenous or tribal, people gonna understand how every race or every group or collective living away from the religion is the way they are connected to the nature. We can't even freaking imagine. They could be living in this physical earth, but they are living in different dimensions. Literally, could be an even tribe from outback that the people don't know that could exist or live, or people, so everybody had, and the Mayans or the Sumerians or any other cosmologies, they all had their share of trying to pass this knowledge or preserve this knowledge, where today's culture call it mythology or fantasy or whatever, but it really goes with the science, it goes with the logic, it goes with the truth, it goes with the reality, it goes with what we perceive, what it goes with. What it doesn't go, it goes with is the fake globe, the fake mats, the fake space, the fake, to reach somewhere. We have to live now where the creation have given us to live here. Where the hell we want to go? We can't even, they're not letting you even us to go to Antarctica. What the hell who's going to go anywhere? Right?
Right, exactly. And you can't take your boat too far away. You can't just fly anywhere you want to go, even if you wanted to. So it is a jail cell in here, big one, and I think it's way bigger.
Make your paradise here already.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's for sure. Do the best with what we got.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother. These people totally flat, geostationary, totally dependent on cycles, precise cycles. So
I imagine a lot of it had to do with their agriculture, when to plant and stuff like that. When to plant what? Because food is important,
Yeah, we spoke about in some of the podcasts about the moon and the sun part, the electromagnetic everything is part of us, and every organism that coexists with us is everything is so interdependent on every level, so
Yeah. Looking at the moon at a certain time, a full moon, thinking a certain way. It's just I wonder what, like that prayer, what we're really supposed to be doing and when.
exactly. So anyway, guys, we are almost be reaching 2 hours. So we had Brett with us. We had Evelyn. I don't know, maybe she's having some Wi-Fi problem. We'll be having our last thoughts on this, and we'll be wrapping up, guys. Quite interesting Mayan cosmology. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. This is a really fun one. It seems a little more local in history, and like I said, like we were saying, that it had a lot to do with more recent cultural history. 2012 thing that caught my attention. I was like, wow, what is that? And I didn't expect too much, but that was one that caught my attention. I was curious to see, but nothing happened as far as I could tell. Maybe maybe now the information that the moon could, that the celestial events and the moon and stars could be offering, maybe it changes to something less like 3D and more 4D, where we could be living in a different dimension with less of this physical world involved with it.
And exactly, they have these where they speak about this, that the whole race disappeared. So there is a connection right there. Could be that they have that now as a legend, but there have to be some truth to that some of them, they just disappeared or go to a different dimension totally, or another level, or
like right in front of their eyes. Like all of a sudden they all disappeared, right? With no trace. They just left everything behind. Yeah, that's crazy. So
or they turned into animals. Who knows? No, because there are maybe in much older cycle.
I think if I had to be an animal, I'd be cautious to see what type of human was around, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't want to just appear here as an animal. Maybe.
No, maybe
squirrel in the woods or something that never met anyone.
Yeah, but human, animal, plant, organism, I think really it's not different. It's just the different, we are part of everything in a way, so
sure. Yeah, and I wonder, if there are, if I think there are, so I'll talk like they are, but when you go to a different dimension, you can just, you don't, there's no motion almost. It's like you just are what you think at the moment. It's immediately. There's no transfer of anything. You just are, you become, like I've had dreams where I am the motorcycle going through cities, like not touching the ground and not worrying about the buildings, making turns without thinking about it. It's a lot of fun. And that's, I think that could be part of the next dimension. Like less spirit, less physical, right? A little bit more of both. I love the dream world. A lot of fun.
Oh yeah, quite possible. There could be not only Mayans. There could be some races that did evolve.
Sure.
Or some races already is evolved to do this kind of,
Absolutely, bro. I can't see how not, almost. If that's, you want to talk about like space and time in the scientific world, that was, they bring that to this world. That's where I say our evolution could be, and probably quite possibly is. It'd be more of the mental, less physical state. And people,
yeah, but that's what they're trying with the virtual reality. In reality,
right.
They're trying to connect everybody,
right? Well, like
to this virtual giant mind that because imagine this, which what we are doing 10, 15 years ago, was much more difficult. But imagine 10, 15 years ahead with all the technology and everything. They're trying to put their conscious with the mind, with the machine. They're trying virtual reality. They're going to be putting things in the humans where you're going to be almost be a computer. So, and try to put their conscious. They're trying all kind of shit. So they're trying to make that as one big hive mind, that everyone is just connected instantly. In a way, we could like literally, so all these things, it's like trying to replicate the reality.
Right. And they give us these Hollywood movies like Arthur C. Clarke's 2001 Space Odyssey that's explaining that stuff that they're doing today. It's great. So they really know.
Did you see that Alita Battle Angel, Gene?
I'm sorry, what's that, bro?
Did you see the movie Alita Battle Angel?
No, I gotta write that down.
It was done a few years ago. It was a redone of an old comic book, but you would like that. But that's about transhumanism quite a bit. But one of the evil guys in there that's half human, half robot. When he's fighting the good girl, he says, "Come on down to my world. It's worlds upon worlds upon worlds." Nice. And I think that's just another little truth drop that, whether these resets happen because of a plasma event where the entire Rakia or sky or whatever it is that's up above us, it's given up its time and it falls down on top of this world and this world's buried and then the next world starts. Right. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But this Mayan cosmology and the 5 suns or the 5 ages, it's similar to a lot of other, like I said, the Native Americans.
The Vedics, yeah.
Yeah, the Vedics, yeah, exactly. So hopefully we're living and learning and enjoying it along the way.
I'm loving it, you guys. Yeah, definitely. Thank you all so much for being here with us. I hope you had fun. It was a great conversation. And thanks for being here, everybody. Brett, great to see you, brother. Hopefully you're back soon. Evelyn, I hope everything's okay over there. Keith, I'm glad you made the whole show. Love having you, brother. It's really good when you're on, man.
Yeah,
yeah, bro. Definitely, man. And you got to friend my new Facebook too, brother.
Okay, I'll look for it or send me an invite. I'll be there.
Yeah, all right, definitely. And Vikka, thanks for the show, man. Great pick, brother. Really awesome, man. So much. I love the similarities between the new science. That's really cool with the 5 suns and the 5 mass extinctions. It makes me think, bro, if there was 5 mass extinctions, they say that life, all of life today represents 5% of what all life existed through those 5 extinctions, right? So that makes sense. That number, how much life is here today, times that by 95, right? I think it goes. So whatever that percent, they increase that by 95%. That's an incredible world that they could be explaining. They call it extinctions, but maybe that's the other worlds they're talking about. That could be just outside of our grasp of reality because of where they got us stuck in here in this heavy-duty third world, third dimension, ego materialistic confusion.
Matrix slave system, yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's true. It's great to be here with everybody and trying to unfold the puzzles of the world we got going on together. And peace and love to everybody.
Oh yeah, thank you, brother.
I'll just do my final thought of question everything and be willing to consider things that are an alternative point of view than what you've been raised with. Most people never change their point of view or their religion or whatever whatever they're handed when they're young, they stay with that most of their lives, most people. So I just encourage people to question everything and consider things that contradict your beliefs if you can.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother. And connect the dots of everything, right? And Mayan cosmology is no different. The mainstream and the globe lovers and the space lovers, they take out of the context even the Mayan cosmology, like the Sumerian cosmology, and put it in that like an aspect of outer space and alien connect. There's nothing. They're just trying to hide the real message of these cosmologies, that is the geostationary flat earth cosmology with everything moving above us. That's what it is with every culture, and that's why they try to avoid it. So we are seeing this with all different cosmologies, and we're going to see this with ahead more to come, guys. Thank you so much for being here, Gene, Keith, Evelyn, and Brett, brother. Yeah, and everybody in the chat. Make sure you guys check us out on the next episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host, Vikka Draziv, signing off, guys. Bye.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.